Ooh, happy Halloween. It's spooky day. If you partake. I happen to love Halloween. I don't know why. I've always loved Halloween. It's my macabre sense of humor. Who the hell knows? But I hope you enjoy. Hope you stay safe tonight. At the end of all this, when we get through the news and the headlines today, I'm going to give you my 5 rules for trick-or-treaters, which over the years has gotten spicier because I'm becoming more of a grumpy old man. But still, I think it applies to everybody. We need to get back to this. So anyway, we'll talk about that. But of course, we have to talk about what's on everybody's mind today, the nuclear option. I think it's a game of chicken, unfortunately, with everybody's lives, at stake with this whole thing. But I think, as far as I can tell, I think the administration, Trump in particular, had to see how far the Democrats are willing to go before he invoked this. And now he's calling their bluff, I think. But we're going to go through this thing. Now, the most boring thing ever on any podcast, any radio show, anything, is to read to you and explain things. But I think it calls for it. Just to put it into a nutshell what the nuclear option is, because everybody's talking about it today, we'll talk about that. As well as, if you think that's a scary situation, and it is, these are tense times, think of how it would have been if the scariest Halloween character of all time was in charge right now. And I'm talking about Drunkula. She is on, I think it's a book tour. I think that's why she's doing so many interviews right now. Of course, I'm talking about Kamala Harris. This is a rage-infused, crazy alcoholic woman. I'm telling you, and I don't care. I don't care anymore. I'm not holding back. I've gotten in trouble in the past before for calling her that, but you have to hear and see the interview that we're going to play for you on a clip. But I think this whole shutdown is going to end soon, not because of the nuclear option, but because of the pressure from unions that are being put on Democrats. If they lose them, I don't know what else they have left. But anyway, it's a lot to cover. Not all of it's scary. Thanks for finding the Wicked Radio live stream. And then, of course, a podcast on all your favorite platforms, audio too, wherever you like to find that. Let's get right to it. Let's start with this. Before we get into the nuclear option, which has been floated now, which basically is circumventing the traditional rules and just saying, no, the hell with it, we're going to pass this thing. We'll get into that in a second. Let's talk about the real reason why I think, and I'm no expert, I'm just like you, why I think, just reading the tea leaves, this thing's going to end pretty soon. The Democrat union, traditionally led Democrat unions, are putting pressure on the elected Democrats now to end this thing. Like I said, they lose them, I don't know what they have left. I really don't. This is the thing that may end the thing. First and foremost, a video from many of the aviation industry and, let's just say, air traffic control unions, everybody that's in charge, basically, of your flight safety, putting pressure on Democrats with a video yesterday. This is pretty impactful. This is something that these folks don't like to do, but they feel they have to because it's a dangerous situation.
The biggest way to ensure the safety, security, and reliability of our national air traffic control system is to pass a clean, continuing resolution.
We are concerned that when our brothers and sisters in TSA and air traffic control are not receiving paychecks, that they're distracted and that they erode on the margin of safety that we rely on to go out and operate our aircraft and do our job safely as well.
Every day that they go to work, they have not only the weight of one of the most high consequence jobs in the entire world, now they're feeling, how do I pay for my gas? How do I put...
Okay, just to, and it goes on like that. And they're very impactful, and I'm glad they did that. And again, these aren't guys, I think, that traditionally like to do that. You have union reps that love to get in front of a camera. They love to do interviews. They love to do podcasts. They love that kind of stuff. Not those guys you can kind of tell are just like, the call went out. They're like, hey, can you meet me at my house in Virginia, and we'll all do a video and force the Democrats to wake the hell up and cut the crap. And they're like, all right, I guess we have to. These are the last people in the world that want to do it, but the situation is so serious that they feel they have to. That may be the most impactful of all, because everybody understands. And the first guy that spoke there, one of the union reps, said clearly, he said it there, getting our elected representatives, he means Democrats, to pass the clean resolution bill. Everybody knows at this point who the players are. It's the Republicans that wanted the clean resolution bill, so that's where that happened. And then you have this. I don't know where those politicians that happen to be on the donkey team, on the left side of things, go if they lose the Teamsters. When you've got Teamsters union reps telling them to cut the crap, oh boy, This may be the one that
took a
ends it.
position. I represent 1.3 million working men and women in this country for the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. We took a position 3 weeks ago. Pass a clean CR, get to the table, negotiate a deal. Do not put working people in the middle of a problem they should not be in there. And we got to think about the families that are going to be affected. Think about when you have to tell your son or daughter they can't play sports because you're not getting paid. Think about when you can't pay your mortgage. Think about when you can't pay your tuition.
Yeah. Okay. So now you've got all this happening. So then the pressure's on. They're in a panic already, and then all of a sudden, then the president comes up with the final trigger. And again, I think it was a game of chicken, and he wanted to see how far the Democrats were willing to go before we got a real feel for this thing. But then it came out last night on Truth Social, and then, of course, it went everywhere. Donald J. Trump, maybe you've heard of him, writes last night, because of the fact that the Democrats have gone stone cold crazy, the choice is clear. Initiate the nuclear option. Get rid of the filibuster and make America great again. Before we get into it, and again, I don't want to do some dissertation and read what this is all about because it's deadly to listen to. Let me just say that this has been floated now for just about a month since this thing began. One of the first people, I'll give her credit, you may not like her, you may think she's a little loony, but at least she's willing to fight. One of the first people to call for this thing was MTG. I got that backwards. Marjorie Taylor Greene. This was an InfoWars interview. This was back on October 3rd. She called for it, and she's not alone.
We need to be passing Republican appropriation bills, and the Senate can get it through to the president's desk by using the nuclear option. They can use the nuclear option on any piece of legislation, overriding the 60-vote rule and helping legislation get to President Trump's desk to make it a law. Here's what's important for everyone to understand. Everything you voted.
Okay. And then she went on about, making her case for why it's so important, which everybody understands. Everybody understands that now. And they're starting to really, even normal everyday people who pay no attention to this stuff understand who's to blame for this. I think they understand that. So, last thing in the world I have any interest in doing is sitting here and reading the definition of the nuclear option as far as the filibuster rule. But in a nutshell, I think it does call for a little bit of that. So, just play along with me here, because we're all asking the question, well, if they can use this nuclear option, why don't they do that all the time? Because it comes with a counter effect. That means the other side, the other team can do it with everything they're trying to pass when they're in power, blah, 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 blah. As it stands right now, we know how this works. The filibuster role in this is it gives the opposition, the minority opposition, chance to chime in with this. This is the 60 votes so that they can all be in agreement and they all pass something as Congress together, right? So they all have a chance. They haven't been able to come up with the 60. The Republicans haven't, because there's been enough Democrats opposing the clean resolution bill to keep the government funded, blah, blah, blah. What does the nuclear option do? Again, in a nutshell, just to summarize. So what they do is just make it a simple point of order here, and they just vote as the majority to say we're going to ignore that, we're going to do an end around, and we're going to pass it anyway, despite them. And you're thinking, well, couldn't they just do that all the time anyway? They're in power. It's a little bit trickier than that, because once you've kind of entered into this territory, then you're there wherever. And then you have minority opposition basically having no power. So the nuclear option would actually do that. It basically makes the filibuster option, that 60, ineffective because it overrides the ruling. It rewrites the rules mid-season. That's what it does. And they can do it. They've always been able to do it. They could have done this at the first place, but they wanted to give the Democrats a chance. And like I said, a game of chicken to see how far they were willing to go. But now they're probably willing to do it. So here we are. You've got what we talked about yesterday. Tomorrow, the SNAP benefits run out. That's pressure on everybody, which there's a lot of people who claim that that's what the Democrats want. They want absolute mass chaos in the streets. Maybe Republicans too. I don't know. You've got that happening. Now you have union reps that traditionally vote Democrat and endorse Democrat politicians telling them to cut the crap and pass this thing one way or the other. And you've got President Trump now invoking the thought of using the nuclear option to run an end around and pass it anyway. That's where we are now, which is why I think, not being an expert on these things, but just somebody that pays attention to this like you do, I think we're nearing the end of this. I think there's too much pressure not to get it done. Let me go to one other elected politician, another Democrat to talk about here, who's been fascinating to watch on this. One of the Democrats that has voted in the Senate to get this government funded is John Fetterman. You know him, the big bald guy, had a stroke, recovered from that. He's from Pennsylvania. Fascinating. He said this all along. I think it was the day before yesterday, I played an interview from him too, saying this is ridiculous. And he will not stand by his party as people who are dependent on welfare benefits will go hungry. Here's another one he just did yesterday.
So what are you hearing back home about SNAP expiring on Saturday?
I'm saying that I will witness it firsthand. My wife, Giselle, she develops the free store in our community, and it distributes food 3 times a week. And her lines have already got longer. And now I will encounter people that have no SNAP benefits starting on Saturday, and I don't have an explanation for them. All I could say is, I'm sorry. It's an absolute failure what occurred here for the last month, and now things are really going to land. And imagine being a parent with a couple kids and how you're going to fill their refrigerator and pack their lunches and get on.
Again, he's broken with, from the beginning, he's broken with his counterparts in the Democrat Party. We all need to understand what kind of cojones, what kind of balls that takes, because we know how that works. When you go against your party rules, they will end you. They will just end you. He might be public enemy number 1 for not going along with them. They are pissed off majorly for him because he's the one making the most sense. He's the one that actually has the guts, despite the fact that the blockage is coming from his party, to say, no, this is wrong. I won't stand with them, and I'm going to vote to keep this going because my constituents are more important. Last person who was on the Democrat side of things in Congress who did that was Tulsi Gabbard. You know what they tried to do for her? They put her on a terror watch list, for God's sakes. That guy's an amazing story and takes a lot of guts to do what he's doing. Besides the fact that I think it's something we all, when he got elected, he's amazing. And just, side note here, just talking about his personal story. I'm fascinated by him. We all made fun of him when he got elected because, unfairly too, because when he got elected, he literally had just had a stroke. You might remember when he got elected to the Senate, could not put a sentence together. Like, he couldn't do it. He was a recovering stroke patient. Like, literally. I mean, go back and look at the videos. Everybody made fun of him. I think the common, narrative at the time was the Democrats will vote for anybody. Even this guy can't even talk. He said, and he was right at the time, John Fetterman said, I'm going to recover from this. My doctors say I'm fine. I'm going to keep working at it. Listen to him now. Listen to that. That's unbelievable on its own. God love him for doing that. That's incredible. Also, can I throw this in there? I've asked the question, maybe you have too. This is a guy who had a stroke. Basically, his brain was rewired and recovered from it, right? All of a sudden, can I point this out, not get into too much trouble? All of a sudden, after recovering from the stroke, rewiring his brain and thinking about things, he's making a ton of common sense. Is there a connection there? This should be studied for decades on how this guy has come to be. I mean, this is a rewiring of a guy's brain, and it came back to make a ton of sense. It's amazing to me. Would you ever expect him to maybe switch parties? I don't know about that, but boy, thank God there's a common sense vote and somebody that has the guts to stand up for his people and not people over party and country over party first. God love him. What would the exact opposite of that be? As scary as things seem now, and it seems like everything's all tense, and they are, and all this is coming to a head, and it's constant interruption, it's constant chaos. First thing you got to remember is it's always been that way, but now there's finally some pushback, so that trying to come up with a solution to these things. As scary as that seems to you and me, can you imagine if we had this lady in charge right now? I'm not going to. Well, maybe I will. I'm not afraid to say it anymore. I've gotten in trouble in the past for saying she's a drunk. I believe that completely. I think she's got substance abuse problems, but there's something else. There is a raging anger in Kamala Harris that I can't really explain. And the reason why she's doing so many interviews these days is she's got a book out. She's pushing for her thing. I think she said on an interview the other day, she's doing all the podcasts. She said in the interview the other day that she's not done yet. She will run again. I don't know. But imagine her in charge in these days.
Are you fucking kidding me? This guy wants to create a ballroom for his rich friends while completely turning a blind eye to the fact that babies are going to starve when the SNAP benefits end in just hours from now? Come on. So I'm not going to be distracted by, does the guy have a big fucking hammer? What?
Whoa. Hold on here, lady. Nobody else is swearing on the podcast but you, dropping 2 F-bombs in like a 15-second clip. There's a rage in her that is very revealing now. And I'm sorry, can you imagine her being in charge of the nuclear option for real? Not in the Senate, I mean in the world. So as scary as that may be, could have been a hell of a lot worse. Whew. Not only getting her facts wrong, by the way, but, also being in a rage about it. Is that required? By the way, is that required? Like, if you happen to see somebody at the Halloween party tonight, or kids walking around the street, or, adult Halloween costumes, people going as Kamala, it'll probably be a very, very big gift. A very big costume, I would imagine, because she's still so much in the public eye. Is it required costuming that it comes with like a fake vodka bottle or something? Got it. There I go, getting in trouble again. Speaking of trick-or-treating, though, it is Halloween. Let's lighten this up a little. I will say lighten it up. In my world, it's lightening it up. But as I do this every single year, it's getting spicier and spicier because, let's face it, I'm getting older. So, I'm getting that old man thing where it's like, argh! But I have rules for trick-or-treaters for you to share with your life and your trick-or-treaters. These are my personal rules. Take them for what they're worth. But as they come to the house today, this is if you partake. I don't know if you're into Halloween or not, whether you have kids coming. Maybe you're in a neighborhood where there's not a lot of kids. I don't know. But these, I think, are the rules we should all settle on for trick-or-treaters coming to the house. First of all, let's talk about the most controversial thing, the one-piece rule. 1 piece of candy for everybody, right? Come on. Candy's expensive these days. We just talked about it. What is it up? 20% this year? 1 piece each. Which later on, as you'll see, can be broken. That's the first rule that can be broken. Number 2, but I think we can all agree on this. You have to say something. You have to show up as a kid to the door, ringing the doorbell. You have to at least say trick or treat or happy Halloween to get any candy, right? This is something I've begun to insist on. Like when they show up and they just hand out a bag like this. Like, what do you say? I hate to be that guy, but I'm going to put some effort into it. By the way, speaking of effort, and this is where I'm going to break rule number 1. The one-piece rule can certainly be broken if you do this. I really admire the families that have the kid walk up to the house alone. It was completely supervised, of course. But, the mom or the dad or maybe the whole family with the wagon is at the end of the driveway, but the kid says, no, I got it, and walks up and rings the doorbell or says trick or treat, being a brave little person. That deserves more than 1 piece of candy. I mean, come on. You walk up solo. That's pretty damn good. I'll give a little bit more if that happens. But number 4, no effort whatsoever, like in the costume, like nothing. You threw something on, like you didn't even try. No, there's nothing there to be given. I'm sorry. You got to spice it up a little bit. If you didn't even try to put on a costume or something, you got to at least entertain me. Do a trick for a treat or something. I don't know. And number 5, no one over 5'10" should be trick-or-treating. And you're saying, well, there are some kids that are very tall at a young age. I understand that. But in general, you shouldn't be driving on your own and trick-or-treating. I mean, come on. What are you, like in college? Come on. You can't even be approaching my height. And I'm like 6 feet. But you can't be close to my height and still trick-or-treating. I don't want to look up to you and have to give you candy. Because that tells me that you're like probably, close to AARP benefits or something. I don't know. But those are my rules. Take them for what you will. And you probably, if you follow most of these rules, you're probably going to get your house egged. So I don't know. Maybe you should just throw these away. Who the hell knows? But have a happy Halloween. Enjoy it. Let's hope that this government shutdown ends very soon the right way. Maybe it won't take the nuclear option. Who the hell knows? But if I was to read the tea leaves, I'm not good at predictions, but I would say pretty soon. Who the hell knows? Here's your takeaway. Enjoy it. Happy Halloween. Please be safe. And by the way, I always throw this PSA out there. It's Friday night. It's a great night for Halloween. It's a great night for trick-or-treating and parties and all that good stuff. But just careful driving around. There's a lot of kids out on the road, and a lot of them have masks on. They can't see you, and you can see them. So everybody be safe. Enjoy it. Have a great weekend. Ooh, programming note. Tomorrow you're going to see something posted on these same channels and also the audio podcast as well. Weekend feature. I'm going to have my lib of the week. Now, I'm not just picking on people. It's actually a communication tip of the week. All this thing is about is to point out the nonsense in the news so we can find some common ground with each other, right? That's like my mission statement. I'm going to pick out every single week It's usually from TikTok, sometimes from Instagram, and a lot of them are from the car, like people just raging about current events. How you would deal with that particular situation if that person was in your life, and you're going to say, "Well, I just don't deal with people like that." Oh, okay, then you probably don't leave the house and have a life, but you're going to have to deal with them at some point. So look for that tomorrow. These same channels. That's happening here. Other than that, the live stream, which is about to end, lives on at a podcast and a replay, wherever you like to get them, audio podcast too. And with that said, happy Halloween. Be safe, enjoy it, have fun. And if I miss you over the weekend, I'll talk to you on Monday.